What's up YouTube, Dal here from Slifer Games, and today I'm bringing you the good old video of to buy or not to buy the Egyptian God structure decks, Slifer and of course Obelisk, which are due out in stores on Thursday in the UK and I believe Friday in the US. Now these introduce some brand new cards and support for of course specifically Obelisk and Slifer, but also generic cards that can help Divine Beast decks, so you can now make an Egyptian God deck that has a slight bit of an additional bonus and a bit of an edge. But with all of that out of the way, please do not forget that if you check out the link down below, you'll be able to get your very own exclusive God playmat that features Obelisk, Ra and of course Slifer, designed by Spallo Tattoos and provided by Venom Battle Gear. With all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into whether you guys at home should be buying the sealed Slifer and Obelisk deck, or singles, or just not bothering at all. So, in both of the structure decks, they do contain exactly 40 cards. 32 commons, 4 supers, and 4 ultra rares. Now, that might seem very, very good on the offset, but what you do need to keep in mind is technically one of the supers is duplicated, and of course one of the ultras is duplicated in the structure decks as well. So we're going to go over the supers, we're going to go over the ultras, and pretty much break down each deck's containments, mainly focusing on the foils, and then we'll highlight some of the reprints that you get in there that may or may not be worth keeping an eye on. So, we start off with the Obelisk deck, and of course you do get Obelisk, the Tormentor, as an ultra rare. You then get a dex exclusive specifically for Obelisk, which is Divine Evolution. Divine Evolution is an ultra rare that this card's activation effect cannot be negated, and you get to choose one monster you control whose original type is Divine Beast, or whose original name is the Wicked Avatar, the Wicked Dreadroot, or the Wicked Eraser, except a monster or monsters already affected by Divine Evolution. It gains 1000 attack, and its effects and activation of its activated effects cannot be negated, and it gains the following effect. When this card declares an attack, you can make your opponent send one monster they control to the graveyard. That's pretty much it for what contains in the Obelisk one. The other exclusive they get is Fist of Fate. Now the Fist of Fate is specifically Obelisk, and this card's activation effect cannot be negated, and if you control a monster whose original name is Obelisk the Tormentor, negate the effect of one effect monster your opponent controls, and if you do, destroy it. And if you do that, for the rest of the turn, the effects of that monster are negated, as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of monsters with the same original name. Then if you activate this card during your main phase as a quick effect, you can apply this effect. Destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. So it's a little bit more back row heavy. It can out stuff like Dragoon, but if you've got an Obelisk on the board already, that should be doing the job for you. We now move on to the ultra rare that is shared between both decks, and this in my opinion is probably the best ultra in the deck, and it is called Soul Crossing. It's a quick effect. During the main phase, immediately after this effect resolve, tribute summon one Divine Beast monster. When you do, you can tribute a monster or monsters your opponent controls even though you do not control them. But if you tribute summon this way, apply this effect. To the end of the next turn, after this card resolves, you can only activate one card or effect per turn, not counting the effects of Divine Beast monsters, and you can only activate one Soul Crossing per turn. Now, the reason this is so good is it's technically like a triple Stormforth. It allows you to tribute up to 3 monsters your opponent controls. So technically you have the ability to tribute 2 or 1 if you wanted to as well, depending on how many monsters you have on your board. I think it's very, very good to kind of bypass your opponent's entire board depending on what they have. Obviously keep in mind it can be negated. So the best kind of use of this would be go Dark Lord and no more, activate Soul Crossing, tribute off your opponent's monsters, nice and easy, off you go. It still has its limitations. It's still very restrictive. I think you could have got away without that clause of saying you can only activate one card until the end of the next turn. But it is still a very good card nonetheless. Then we move on to the super rares. I'm going to do all 4 of the super rares together that are in the Obelisk structure deck. So, of course, you get a reprint of Meme as a super rare. I mean, this card's deserved a super rare for a long, long time. Whether it needed to take up a space in the structure deck, I don't know. You've then got Harpy's Feather Duster. Now, Harpy's Feather Duster, again, is reprinted in both decks, which is kind of cool, but also kind of wasteful, and you'll see what later on as I kind of explain my overall feelings of the structure decks. You then get 2 exclusives that fall within the Obelisk deck. You get Angel 01, which is basically an effect fairy monster level 1. You can special summon this card from the hand by revealing 1 level 7 or higher monster from your hand. You can only special summon Agent 01 once per turn this way. While you control this special summon card, you can tribute summon 1 level 7 or higher monster in attack position during your main phase in addition to your normal summon or set. So it's kind of nice as it is a free summon that just hits the board and allows you to get an additional tribute summon, which is very, very good if you're trying to build up into your Obelisk. Not to mention, the idea is that you would special summon Angel 01, you could then normal summon another monster, use Angel 01's effect, and that is how you get an additional monster on board to then successfully summon your God card. The last card again, which I think is really, really kind of neat, is if a monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, target one of those monsters. Special summon monsters from your deck in defense position so their combined levels equal the level of the monster but negate their effects. So what makes this really, really nice is technically, if they were to destroy a God card, you get to pretty much flood your board as long as you can make the levels up correctly. That's the other issue, is it very dependent to survive through the battle phase and your opponent doesn't pop it with anything like Phoenix, Cosmic Cyclones, Twin Twisters or Lightning Storms. And then it has to survive even further because it then means that your monster needs to be destroyed, so you can then trigger this effect to either survive that battle or leave your board with enough materials to then tribute them off to go into Obelisk. So that is pretty much it for the Obelisk deck supers and ultra rares. Now let's have a look at the Slifers. So let's start off with the first core card. Of course you're going to get Slifer the Sky Dragon, but let's talk about the first actual core card that revolves around Slifer itself, and this one's actually pretty good, and that is Thunderstrike Attack. This is a quick play spell. This card's activation effect cannot be negated. If you control a monster whose original name is Slifer the Sky Dragon, destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent controls as possible. Then if you activate this card during your main phase, you can apply the following effect. Draw cards equal to the number of monsters destroyed by this effect and sent to your opponent's graveyard. Also, you can only attack with 1 monster this turn. Now, ultimately, I think that's really, really good. Because keep in mind, all you need to do is resolve the true name, special summon out Slifer, and then activate this. So from 2 cards, and technically if you reveal the Thunder Force off of the true name and you've been able to stack your deck, if you look at the Dark Magician deck that I've played around with, technically you could put this as an engine in your Dark Magician deck. But the idea would be that you reveal Slifer, special Slifer onto the board, then activate this. Your opponent can't respond, you get to destroy all of your opponent's monsters, and then you get to draw more cards. So obviously if they've got a full board of 5, nice, you're getting a 5-card hand. Your Slifer is going to be up by 5k as well. Not to mention that you can only attack once, so straight away your Slifer goes, okay, I'm going to punch to the face for 5k. Not to mention if you started with a hand of 6, you've only used 2 cards from your opening hand, plus the true name would have replaced itself, meaning that you actually have 10 cards in your hand, and that is going to be enough to pretty much one-shot your opponent, which is pretty cool. So that to me is probably the best card as a, like, when you compare with the Obelisk as well. I think the better card is the Soul Crossing, but I think as a individual card, it would probably be Thunder Force Attack that comes in at a close second. Let's look at the other Ultra that is specific in the Slifer deck, and that is called Millennium Seeker. So, when you take 1000 or more battle or effect damage, so instant fusion, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can type 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, except a monster with mystery attack. So it means you can't target something like Slifer, Greymandrew, something along those lines. Your opponent can choose 1 monster from their deck except a monster with mysterious attack. If they choose not to, or if the target monster has higher attack than the chosen monster, special summon the targeted monster to your field, and if you do, shuffle the chosen monster back into the deck. Otherwise, your opponent gets to add the chosen monster to their hand. So basically, if they choose a monster that has higher attack than the one you choose in the graveyard, they get to add it. If they, you get to special summon it. If they choose one with lower attack, then they get to add it to their hand. So if you choose a monster in the graveyard, for example, say Effect Veiler, the chances are you're going to get to special summon any monster that they choose. Very nice, kind of cool card. Does have some interesting interactions, but overall, again, not a groundbreaking card. Not a card that's making me go, whoa, this is on the level of Sacred Beast. I can now do Egyptian God versus Sacred Beast, and it'd be a balanced fight. No. Then we look into the super rares. So the super rares that they got in, obviously taking away that Harpy's Feather Duster was a double print, and so was of course Soul Crossing. The other 3 supers are as follows. So in the Slifer deck, they get Teleus the Little Angel. So if this card is, so it's a level 3 light fairy monster. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Teleus Wing token. While you control a Tellius Wing token, you can banish this card from the graveyard and one spell from your hand to special summon 2 Tellius Wing tokens. You can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except from your hand. So again, this gives you easier access to get into the gods, but it does use up your normal summon. It's not as good as the Angel 01 that you can reveal a level 7 or higher to special summon it, meaning you maintain your normal summon. So this is where the Angel 01 and of course the Tellius kind of work hand in hand. Because the idea is you can special summon out the Angel 01, which gives you 1 monster on the board and gives you an additional tribute. You can normal summon the Tellius. The Tellius can then be linked off and go into like an Almirage or something along those lines. And then you can move further from there. Keeping in mind that it locks you out from special summoning for the rest of the turn, so as long as you do all the special summoning prior to that, you're good to go. So you go into Almirage, you put it to the graveyard, and then you've got a token off of the Tellius Angel anyway. You then banish the Tellius Angel to give you 2 more tokens. Your board is currently sitting at 5 monsters. You get rid of all 3 of the tokens, that gives you a god down, and you're good to roll from there. The other super rare in the set that they got, or in the Slifer one, was Reactor Slime. So during your main phase, you can activate this effect, special summon 2 slime tokens. Also, you cannot normal or special monsters for the rest of the turn, except Divine Beasts. During the battle phase quick effect, you contribute this card, set 1 Metal Reflect Sign from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So it can be activated that turn. So this card to me, again, screams more out about Marek. This probably should have been in the Legendary Ra set, purely because this is more something that I would see Winged Dragon of Ra being using. Definitely something that Marek would be using a lot more. Just be able to go, right, okay, I get to activate Metal Reflect Sign this turn as well. Now, it does have great synergy with the Ra support, because keep in mind as well, the Metal Reflect Slime God that we got, which was the fusion monster from the Legendary Rage of Ra, you can just tribute off that Metal Reflect Slime into that card, and that lets you protect all of your level 10 and higher monsters as well. So it does have some very nice synergy, but you've also got to keep in mind what it locks you out of special summoning for as well. So it's stuff to kind of keep in mind that you're going to have to wait till the next turn, or you're going to have to do other stuff as well. Now, luckily, I believe that the slime is a Divine Beast, so you should be absolutely fine. The other super rare that we got is the Ultimate Divine Beast. Now, this looks absolutely amazing. So when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard 1 spell or trap, then target 1 Divine Beast monster in your graveyard. Special summon it in defense position. Then change the attack target to it. During the end phase, if you control a Divine Beast monster, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls that activated their effects on the field this turn. Only use the effect once per turn. Now, again, very kind of cool card, very interesting for the deck as well. Does give it a bit of usability, but you've also got to keep in mind that, again, like the trap card that was in the Obelisk deck, it is very specific at what it does. Now, when you're comparing the 2 decks together, you kind of look at the supers and you kind of go, right, okay, well, you got Obelisk, you got Slifer. You've got the Obelisk spell, you got the Slifer spell. We're going to give them both the Soul Crossing, and then it's kind of like, right, which trap's better? Do you want the level up, but you need to wait for the battle phase? Or do you want the Divine Beast, but you need to wait for the end phase? It kind of gives you a juxtaposition of the 2, which is kind of why I could see, and I'll explain this a little bit further on as we go, why these could have been put into this same structure deck. Why did it need to be 2 structure decks, apart from general greed? Anyway, let's now start looking at some of the reprints. Now, shockingly enough, between the 2 structure decks, you only get 1, the true name. You get 1. So the true name isn't in both structure decks, it's only in the Obelisk structure deck. And that kind of made me go, hang on, wait. So you're going to give me 3 of the Ra's Disciple? Makes sense. You're going to give me 3 of the Nimble Mongolia. And it's like, really? Did I need 3 of that in one structure deck that came in the Obelisk deck? Probably not. You're going to give me 3 Arima from the Lair of Darkness. And I was like, okay, I get that we're going to be tributing for some effects, but do I already got Soul Crossing. Soul Crossing is going to let me use my opponent's cards anyway. Why would I then want Lair of Darkness, and the only one you've reprinted is the Arima, when really you could have given me Lilith? So, basically what I'm saying is, at the core of each of the decks, the common cards that were being reprinted in freeze aren't really necessary. And it kind of just seems to me like there's a lot of filler. There's other stuff as well. Of course, there's Supply Squad. There's another Jar of Avarice reprint. There's Monster Reborn. Like, the only thing this deck was missing was like a Twin Twister or an MST reprint, but we got that in Harpy's Feather Duster, which again was duplicated across the 2 structure decks. So what I'm trying to say as an overall kind of feel is the commons don't strike me. The commons aren't great. They're not on the level of reprints that we've seen before. Like, you look at the Mechanized Madness structure deck, at least we've got Twin Twisters and we've got Solemn Strike in that. You've also got to look at the other structure decks we've had as well, like the Charmers. They actually got some fairly decent common reprints if you were looking for stuff like Dark Ruler No More, which now turns out to be worth £7, which is nearly the same price as the entire structure deck. They also got a bonus of a token and an alternate art, not to mention that some of the Charmer cards were pretty decent. Now, I'm not putting this on the same level as the Shaddolls, the Salamangreats, or anything like that, because don't worry, they're not on that level. But as a general fun deck, like if you wanted to pick up the Sacred Beast, that's a really fun deck. I really enjoy that. I think it got some nice reprints, and it definitely took Sacred Beast to the next level. Whereas these structure decks definitely scream, and it's evident as anything more than it has before, of Konami going, oh, well, the OCG gave them as like promos and in additional sets and gave them in the God box set. How should we present these to the TCG players? And someone's gone, how about a structure deck? And great idea. If they were both in one structure deck, absolutely fine, because you got everything you needed. You only needed to buy 3 structure decks to get play sets of everything you need. You wouldn't need to put 2 Soul Crossings in there. You don't need to put 1. And you wouldn't need to put 2 Harpy's Feather Dusters. You don't need to put 1. All of the stuff that the commons that you've put in as 3 of could be put as 1, and then all you need to do is buy 3 of the structure decks and you've got your play sets. So to me, for someone that's like, right, I want to build an Obelisk deck and I want to build a Slifer deck, they need to buy 6 decks. When really, they should have only needed to buy 3 structure decks, because you can see the wasted space throughout the entire structure deck. Now, if there was some decent reprints, if they went, you know what, we're going to put Evenly Matched in here, or we're going to put Lightning Storm in here. Now, I know that's all preset in the OCG for the Cyber structure decks, but I just feel that the reprints in this set could have been a hell of a lot better. Now, I'm not saying that they needed to be meta staples, but what I'm trying to say is it kind of looks to me like Konami went, oh no, how can we make a bit more money? Like, we're going to do a structure deck for it, that's already going to be doing what it can... Like, you could have put these in a set. You could have put these in King's Court, not an issue whatsoever. So, to me, what it kind of looks like is they kind of gone on this and go, yeah, 1 structure deck just isn't enough. How about 2 structure decks? And people have gone, yeah, great idea. But what do we do to fill the 40 cards in? They go, well, we've got 7 cards sorted already, but we'll have to duplicate 2 that are already in a structure deck with Harpy's Feather Duster and Soul Crossing. Let's make Mare a super. That's been desperate for a super. We're not going to put it in an OTS. We're going to put it in the structure deck because, you know, people are going to buy the structure deck for a super Mare. Don't think so. And then they kind of went, oh, well, that's good. We've got 33 more cards to find. What should we put in here? Should we put any decent reprints in there? I mean, I know you're going to be looking at stuff like Ra's Disciple. I know you're going to be looking at stuff like the True Name. Should we put True Name at 3? Nah. Let's put, like, Beaver Warrior in there. Let's put stuff like Nimble Beaver Warrior. Like, really? Nimble Hamster? Like, some of these cards that were just chosen, it's kind of like Konami went, that one? That one? It's like you went on Duel Book and you're like, okay, cool. Or YGO Pro and you're like, right, I've got these 7 cards in here. These are all exclusive. Oh, I've only got 30 cards and they're all at singles. Don't worry. Just put triples of them. Which one do you want to make 3s of? Let's put that one, and that one. Yeah, but what about the True Name? The True Name actually helps the deck and is actually God related. Nah, that's already had a reprint. Let's reprint Nimble Warriors. Let's reprint this one as well. And it's kind of like, I get it, you're giving us monsters that float, you're giving us monsters that were 2002, but they could have been used for something better. And what I'm kind of saying, the overall point of this is, to me, 2 structure deck is a waste. So, if it was 1 structure deck, if they put it all together, you get an Obelisk, you get a Slifer, and then you don't even need as many Ultras, because then ultimately what you'd do is you'd go, right, okay, you can have Soul Crossing, you can have the Obelisk Fish, you can have the Thunder Force, and you can have the Divine Spell. They can all be your ultra rares. And you're like, cool, great, I've got 1 of each of those. And then for the super rares, you go, right, you can have Harpy's Feather Duster, you can have the 2 new trap cards, and you could possibly have Mare. And it's like, great, okay, fine. Or you put Mare as a common. You can even put Harpy's Feather Duster as a common, to be totally honest. And then you look at the rest of the commons. Now, after you've done that, technically, you only need to find 26 more cards. So you could go, right, okay, well, we'll give them 1 True Name, we'll be able to give them 1 Arima, 1 Lair of Darkness, 1 Reckless Greed, 1 of everything else that you needed, and you kind of let them build the decks up. And then to me, it kind of felt like, you know, they ran out of ideas, they ran out of space. So I'm going to bring this video to a close because I've ranted on long enough, and I hope you kind of stuck with me. Now, what I'm saying is, these structure decks are okay. If you are a God fan, if you want to be building gods, it's definitely worth getting. But to me, you don't need to go and get 3 Obelisk and 3 Slifers. You'll be more better off going 2 of the one you really want to build and 1 of the other. because that way you get the free Soul Crossing, and the only thing you're getting that is specific to said deck is, of course, the Obelisk Fist, which you probably only want to be playing 2 of, or the Thunder Force, which again, you're probably only going to want to be playing 2 of. So you kind of bounce down what you need and what you don't need, and that's where you can kind of make it one whole deck. Now, if you're crazy and you love gods so much and you want to go, right, I want an Obelisk deck, I want a Ra deck, I want a Slifer deck, and I want to make a deck that involves all 3, then you're probably going to want to go get 3 Obelisk, 3 Rifle, 3 Slaw. 3 Obelisk and 3 Slifer. So to me that makes a bit of sense, but I don't think there's going to be many people out there. I don't think people should be doing that. I think you should literally go, right, I'm a Slifer person, I'm going to get 2 of that and 1 of the Obelisk, or I'm a Obelisk person, I'm going to get 2 of that and 1 of the Slifer. When it comes down to singles, this is where it gets even more difficult as well, because the singles, to me, in my opinion, apart from Soul Crossing, which you could probably pick up for about £2, you're going to be looking at stuff like the Obelisk Fist and the Slifer. The Slifer spell could probably be about £3 each. Then when you want to get the trap cards, and you're probably going to want to be paying 2 of those, you're only paying £5 of a £9 structure deck, and you've only got 2 cards. So why not pay the additional £4 and get the rest of the deck? Now, yeah, okay, the rest of the deck is actually jank apart from the supers. And no one really wants 6 copies of Harpy's Feather Duster. No one really wants... Like, you might want 3 copies of Mare, but you only ever play 1 in a deck anyway. So, the only other cards you're going to want 3 of are probably the Angel 01, the Teleus, and then maybe the Millennium guy as well. So, you're probably going to want 3 of those, but to get that, you need to get 3 Slifer to get the Teleus and the Millennium, and then if you want the Angel, you need to get 3 Obelisk. So, it's like you might as well go buy them as singles as £1 to just complete everything you need. So, it's a very, very... It's a very, very sad deck, in my opinion. This is a structure deck that could have been made as 1. And keep in mind, they decided to put Dragoonities, which needed a lot of reprints, into Ghosts from the Past, so that they could then reprint a lineage of Hidden Arsenal. But they wouldn't put a Slifer and a Ra structure deck together. Questionable. So, this is the first time I've ever got to this point. The first time I've ever looked at a product and not been able to find some saving graces to say, guys, go out and buy 3s of everything. Now, if you are a God fan, which these are aimed at, go support your locals, buy 1 of each, or 2 of one, 1 of the other, just to kind of complete your God enthusiasm. But it's very, very difficult to justify buying 3 of each, I'm afraid, guys. It really is. Even as a massive God fan, it's very difficult because apart from the Soul Crossing, which you're going to get 2 of if you buy 1 of each of the structure deck, which helps the gods in general, everything else is tailored to Slifer or tailored to Obelisk, and even then the cards you need aren't desired at 3. Again, it's something that you buy 2 Slifer of, 1 Obelisk, and then go, right, okay, I need 1 more Angel 01 and I need 1 more Teleus. I'll buy them as singles at about £1, maybe £2 each. And the rest of the commons you're probably going to give to youngsters as well. And this goes to both younger duelists that like the God decks and just people that are a fan of the anime as well. I think it's very difficult to justify to kids, apart from saying, here, you get an Obelisk deck, I'll get a Slifer deck, we can fight each other on those and go from there. Even then, they could have just gone, right, I'm going to get the 1 structure deck, which is the Egyptian God, Slifer and Obelisk deck, and then I'm going to choose which route I want to take out of that deck. From those 40 cards, you either make your boss monster Obelisk, or you make your boss monster Slifer, and then you put in some generic cards, wham bam, thank you ma'am, you're done. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I know I've ranted on a little bit, but I hope you've kind of followed along and understood where I'm coming from this one. So, for the first time ever, to buy or not to buy, I can't really go either way. Buy 1s of each. Thank you so much for watching. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.